closely.
Echo, you can't go this alone. It's insane, I tell you. Insane!
Usually that's to my advantage.
Oh my god. Tell your father not to start the car.
Hey, this isn't your town. Aren't you supposed to be with...
Just moved here. And from now on, I work alone.
You can still honor our Lord Father. Destroy the samurai, Ashi.
Shinobu, you don't look so good.
And now, the conclusion.
Well, coming back from that cliffhanger, we get a nice look at issue 4's cover. What do you think, Scott?
I think I really enjoy just how it flows. Plus the fact that it kind of already works as like a recap for how the rest of this story has already gone so far. We get to see Mob Rule. We get to see literally what happened in the last panel that made me angry. We see the events that led up to the last panel that made me angry.
We see Patty screaming, Iris doing stuff on the prison, I guess. And Dr. Elias, he's here too. Yeah, like, I think this cover is beautiful. It has a nice dynamic flow to it, and that color combination that just makes the Flash pop. Also, I do have to wonder if this would draw interest in it. Like, I mean, I do think this would draw more interest in, say, the Flash running that we saw in the first cover.
Oh, that's not a hype.
Yes, I know that's not a high bob, Sith Scott. Sithy.
Sithy. What?
Let's go back to the cover.
Okay.
Okay, if you were seeing this on the stands in a comic book shop when you walked in, would this make you want to buy it?
Honestly, just the cool electricity on his suit right there would make me want to buy it.
Honestly, I do think this would draw me in to be curious about what's going on. But instead of the electricity for me, it would be because of that freaking gunshot to the Flash's head on the cover.
He can see the gunshot go through his head. But can he really?
Does this count as gore or gun violence or whatever?
I mean, you don't really see the blood.
You kind of can if you zoom in on near his head.
You can't zoom in on covers.
Yeah, you can if you have digital copies.
Well, I mean, you don't have digital copies at the store.
Alright, this is getting long. Let's go on to what's actually going on inside the issue.
The darkest of times can give birth to extraordinary things. Defining moments that you can look back upon and say, this is when everything changed. This is when it all began. We were born in the shadows of death, and through his pain we found purpose. We found something to believe in until he left, and we were lost.
I'm glad you're here.
Where else would I be, Tita? You're like family.
You're a good boy, Barry. If only Manuel...
I'm sure he has a reason for not being here.
Manny's too much like his father. He can't stay put. He won't grow roots.
You know some beautiful words? Your mom? I can't even look at her, because all I did is see what she did to my dad. Practically shoved him out the door. If she hadn't served him papers, he never would have gotten on that plane. That's not fair. What happened to my dad was not fair. Freaking hijackers. It's like some kind of sick joke. Your mom couldn't have known what would happen. It was your dad who chose to board that plane and leave. He made his choice. And I've made mine. I'm gonna kill every last one responsible for his death. You don't mean that, Manuel. I'm dead serious. Did the interview, Barry. I'm in. And the CIA could always use a man like you. I can't. You know me. I'm a scientist, not a hero. Don't stop selling yourself short, Barry. You've got to find something meaningful in your life and take a stand. For me, that's finding my dad's killers. It's time you found out what that is for you. We were lost without him, but now we have purpose. Dr. Elias. Badlands, just outside Central and Keystone City. Life. We want to live, don't we all? Yeah, well, that's where you come in. Mob Rule needs your help, Doc. And my genome recoder, if I remember correctly. We've got that, and now we've got you. There's something wrong with our DNA that's making us drop dead after only months of living. And we need you to help us fix it. With that EMP blast having blacked out all of Central City, my lab is crippled. I have an experimental energy source I've been developing, but it hasn't been tested yet. There's no time like the present, Doc. Okay, tell me more about your father and where you came from. We came from Manuel Lago. He was a covert U.S. operative who was given regenerative powers as part of a top-secret government project. He was already a highly trained badass, but the power to regenerate after any wound made him the very best. Just point him in the right direction and watch him work. James Bond meets Batman. But he was just biding his time, gathering intel. Once he uncovered the names of his father's killers, he went rogue. Basilisk, they called themselves. But to him, they're just dead men.
And another epic shot.
He killed them off, one by one. But as good as he was just one man. Certain that he had co-conspirators, they tortured him. They started with his fingers, and then his hands. When they discovered that he could regenerate, they just kept cutting, and cutting, and cutting. They tortured him for weeks, an eternity to Manuel. He was ready to give up, he just wanted to die. But something inside him refused, and when his body thought he had given up, we regenerated from his discarded limbs. We shared the same memories, and a psychic link to one another, yet possessed our own distinct thoughts and personalities. We could regenerate like he could, but couldn't create new life as he did. Instead, we were bound to each other, parts of a greater whole. Yet still a part of him, so we saved our maker. Together we stepped on many snakes. He was more than an exceptional leader. He was our father. And then we started to die, expiring with little warning, and in the order we were born. We didn't know why, but we understood that the key to our survival was locked inside Manuel. Instead of helping, he ran. He left us to die. I'm sorry, I'll help you as best I can. I have the means to rebuild your machine back at my lab. I can't make you any promises here. I'll attempt to fuel it with my experimental power source. But in order to make it work, we're still going to need a DNA template to draw from the rewrite your genetic code. We still need the original source. We'll need Manuel. We're working on that. Manuel and Patty find themselves at the bridge that the Flash vibrated the plane through. The police are worried about what that did to the bridge, which, honestly, is kind of fair. It's not every day a plane just goes through a bridge and the bridge is still, standing.
I'm okay.
The police are keeping people from crossing, and the people are starting to get angry. Patty is also getting angry, but it's at Manuel for leaving Barry, because, that whole thing. Manuel, though, retorts that he'll be fine. They know what he means to me.
Okay, side note. Most of the time when I've heard someone say they/you know what they/you mean to me, it's been in the context of a parent who doesn't know how to express their love for their child, or those who don't know how to express their romantic love to each other. So, does this mean that this love triangle has become a love shape?
I mean, Sam and Dean did that in Supernatural all the time.
Aren't those two siblings?
Yes, they are.
Aren't they also the most popular ship?
I mean, it depends on how high up you categorize the whole Dean and Cass ship.
Oh my gosh, that has just blown up recently. People in the future will be looking back on this video so weird now that we brought that up, won't they?
Nah.
So, future people, is Dean and Cass actually canon, or is Castiel still super dead? Let us know in the comments. Alright, let's go back to the story.
Patty then points out to Manuel that Manuel left Barry, and if he was willing to abandon the person that means the most to him, what could Mob Rule be willing to do to Barry?
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Obviously, Manuel has now come to a god moment, and then rushes off to go save Barry. So sorry, Barry. I never should have left. Never should have stayed away. Hang in there, Barry. I'm coming home. Whoa, where the heck do you think you're going? Out of my way! Get down off the horse before we make you! Is that a threat? Call it what you want, but we're taking you with us. I don't have time for this. I have to find... Barry? Let us save you the trouble. He's already dead. Happens a lot around you. But since you're never going to stick around long enough to find out, let us clue you in. You never get used to it. Barry? You killed Barry? Gonna kill you! like happened. Manuel, I can't believe it. You're alive. You know me. I'm a survivor, despite what my obituary says. Right, I guess we should cancel your funeral. Nice ring. You finally found a girl worth taking a beating for? No, just my job. When I said find meaning in your life, I didn't mean my blowing stuff to hell. Not very Barry Allen, if you ask me. Kind of a mess, huh? Freak lab accident, lightning and chemicals. If you can't believe it, man, it's good to see you. Your mom will be happy to hear. I'm not staying. Still have messes of my own to clean up. You're not gonna see her. It's better that she thinks I'm dead. Better for her or for you? Better for my plan to crash my funeral? But don't worry, Barry. If you don't get an invite, you can roll with me. Oh gosh, if I have to sit here with any longer with all this bromance, I'm gonna... A little respect. Alan's like a brother. His maybe, but not ours. Leave me alone. Can't stand to look at you. You don't like what you see? Whose fault is that? You think I don't know? I let you take the one thing that meant something. Darn you! Who are you to judge us? Everything we are, everything we do comes from you, Manuel. Stop running and face the truth. You can't escape us any more than you can escape yourself. Because we are you. Shut up! We killed Barry, which means you were capable of killing him. We're survivors. That's what we do. Embrace it. Every last one of us. We do whatever we have to, no matter what the cost. Nobody gets in our way. Nothing comes between us. You need to accept who we are. You don't have to run. Not anymore. Just accept who you are.
Okay, just a little aside here. I just realized that Mob Rule is riding around in their full commando gear on little bikes around the city, and that just makes me happy. I mean, they also kind of look like if Moomin Rider could afford better armor. Like, you know, the guy on One Punch Man who rides around on his bike helping people with the pretty decent armor, but you can tell he doesn't have the greatest budget in the world to work with. So it's just like, it just makes my heart happy. It makes me think of all those happy things. Like, or can you imagine, like, just being in town and you see this full-on commando riding his little bike after a guy riding a horse, and you're just like, the crap?
I'm sure there's plenty of YouTubers trying to watch that.
Hey, no one has power, so I'm sure that they're saving their phone batteries for something better.
Is there anything better than having a YouTube video of a guy on a bike chasing a guy on a horse?
Cat videos.
Okay, so if the guy who was riding a bike had a cat, you'd say it'd be worth it.
Yes!
After that fun chase scene, Barry wakes up where the Mob Rule left him. Uh-oh, he's not dead. He'd apparently gotten lost in the possibilities of how to beat Mob Rule. Then he forgot about the bullet, but thankfully his Flash instincts then kicked in and the bullet just grazed him. Thank you, Spider Sense. He changes into the Flash, then leaves just in time because Mob Rule rigs the building to explode.
Wait, was that Mob Rule's plan to get rid of Barry's body? Just blow up the whole building?
That seems pretty extreme.
I mean, to be fair, their whole thing is extremes right now.
I guess so. I mean, I guess that's one way to get rid of a body, though.
I mean, it makes the cleanup much easier. You don't have to wipe the blood off anything. You just, boom, burn it all.
And if it gets caught, so what? It was the building explosion that killed him, not the bullet in the head.
Sure, whatever. Let's go look at issue 5's cover. I think it's a really beautiful cover with a lot of dynamic and atmosphere. With the skulls pointing at Manuel along with Barry, it creates a nice focal point, but our eyes also easily move to Barry due to his reaching out towards Manuel and the bright colors, so it highlights both of our key characters without being too overwhelming. And I think the skulls create a nice sense of intrigue and suspense without necessarily being too heavy-handed. Though I am a bit amused by the logos and words slapped onto the cover. Like, the New 52 logo is just kind of slammed into the corner up top, kind of awkwardly. But if you took it out, it would just kind of leave an awkward blank space there because of how the Flash logo is centered. And I'm also a bit amused by the to save his friend many will die statement on the cover. Because on one hand, it is true, but I'm not sure how many people will care, and that death, as we'll see, isn't technically undone, but it's more like it's redone. Spoilers for this comic that's been out for years.
Spoilers. Anyways, my thoughts on this is, so going into this, the third issue is my favorite cover. This one, however, I think is the best cover for this arc, in the sense that it covers everything that this arc entails, with the urgency, with everything that's going on, and with just the overall atmosphere of this cover.
And I think it's also would be very enticing to new readers because you want to know what's going on, and you want to know what's happening with the Flash. Though I guess it could also turn off new readers who are afraid of continuity and jumping into a story with his friend a bit on the cover, but I think it's more intriguing than off-putting. What do you think?
I mean, 5 issues in and you're talking about the Flash's friend in a series that's supposed to erase continuity, and these people don't even know anything about the Flash's friend. Or people who have known in the past still don't know who this guy is.
Any other thoughts you want to present about the cover?
He's got a nice booty.
Psh, that's so flat. It's a flat booty.
Doesn't have to be toned to be nice.
Keep telling yourself that and telling that to your butt.
Don't make fun of my butt.
I love your booty.
Hope you do. We open somewhere in the city. Possibly Dr. Elias's lab. You better not be wasting our time, Doc. We don't have a lot left. We're dying and the clock's ticking. He knows! Dr. Elias has already agreed to help rewrite our DNA. I agreed to try. My lab wasn't immune to the effects of the EMP blast that knocked out power in the gem cities. But once I get my green energy generator up and running, I should be able to pinpoint the flaw in your cloned DNA. Here it is, gentlemen. That's it. Looks like a piece of junk. So if it's so awesome, then why is it in the basement? Guys, enough! All my projects from the symposium are down here. It's not a reflection of its worth. I'll get started. We're at the bridge. The confrontation between the police and civilians is getting worse. Thankfully, the Flash shows up with some barges from Wayne Enterprise, which are loaded with emergency supplies.
Is someone gonna pay for that?
The Flash then also explains to the police that the bridge is fine. The Flash then goes to Iron Heights prison to help out. There, he spots a green glowing light, and instantly he's just like, well, yeah, that's where the trouble's brewing. Mob Rule and Dr. Elias have Manuel strapped to a super-duper science chairinator. Manuel is also looking like he rapidly aged or desperately just needs a nap, but having your clones try to kill you, then kill your best friend, might do that to you. I don't know. Test that out. I'm tired of running. Let's just get this over with. Give them what they need so we can all move on. You've got one shot at this, Doctor. I know, Manuel, and there's every reason to have hope. The electromagnetic generator installation is protected by a prototype from the EMP blast. We now have the requisite energy to perform the gene rewriting process. Using Manuel as a roadmap, this genetic recoder will emit a specially designed pulse of electromagnetic energy that will reconfigure the DNA of every one of you. Is that going to hurt? Well, it won't tickle. But when it's all over, the genetic flaw that's causing the mob rule to expire will be repaired. What about you and Manuel? The recoder is programmed to only pinpoint the genetic flaw, which we don't possess. We should be fine. I hope.
The science about having an electromagnetic pulse fix DNA kind of sounds fakey to me, but I did look into it. Apparently, electromagnetic fields can indeed break DNA strands, so I guess in a world full of super-duper science, having electromagnetic fields fix DNA strands instead isn't too terrible. It just sounds weird.
Reverse EMP. Manuel Lago is my oldest friend. He's the closest thing I have to family. A model of determination. Manny was the one person who refused to let me forget that I wasn't a victim because I lost both my parents. But when he lost his father, that same refusal to be victimized put him on a bloody path of revenge. A path that I thought had cost him his life. 2 days ago, he reappeared at my doorstep. And he brought friends. Where are Manuel and Elias? Stop him! Ah! It's okay, Mr. Lago. I've got you. Get away from me. Flash, you don't understand. It's working. You're on board with this? All they want is a chance to live. This process is allowing them to do that. It's working. Ah! Hold on, Manuel, just a little longer. Ah! Something's wrong. Ah! It's killing him. Oh no. Flash, the generator isn't holding the electromagnetic charge. The containment seal's broken. It's going to... Oh my. It's the... I can't contain the explosion. Don't. It's working. Flash, you've got to contain the blast. I'm sorry, Manuel. Gotta create a vortex. Propel the blast into the atmosphere. Ugh. Manuel? It's over, Flash. You did it. Where'd it go? At least we tried. No. You killed them all! They didn't have to die! Manuel, no, shut up! It's not his...
One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do.
Okay, so I don't exactly get how they all died, because they were all DNA based on how old they were before, so why did they just all die instantly now? I know their DNA was being fixed, but why did it not be fully fixed, cause them to drop like fruit flies? Their DNA was already broken.
Maybe it's like stopping a surgery?
I guess that's probably the best explanation, but it still feels kind of forced.
I mean, this is a superhero comic, so a light sprinkling of forced drama helps the medicine go down.
Speaking of forced drama, after Barry reveals to Patty he's not dead, we see that Manuel is planning on bringing back Mob Rule, and he has gone full villain mode along with, "You are my only family left." That's honestly kind of disappointing. We were hoping Manuel would stick around and be friends with Barry because we really liked the dynamic they had between them. So it's kind of half a win?
Not really. Because, I mean, it's nice to see that it's implied he'll be back later, but, I don't get why he's doing it, though. You think with how much he cared about Barry, he would stick around for the funeral, or at least make sure Barry has a funeral, and then find out Barry isn't actually dead. But nope, instead he books it out, which, I mean, I guess does fit his MO with the whole running thing, but at the same time, you think he'd at least say goodbye and leave a flower on Barry's grave concerning his whole, Barry was the one thing that was important to me. I was coming back for him.
Plus, that also would do the whole turnaround thing, where in the beginning, we get to see Barry attend Manuel's funeral for him not to be dead. We could have the vice versa, where Manuel tries to attend Barry's funeral to reveal he's not actually dead, there's no funeral going on. But no, we don't get to have that fun thing.
Nope. And I don't get why Manuel would bring back Mob Rule. Because they were all dying and suffering, and why would he bring in more clones into this world where they're just going to die in 9 months and suffer? I get he regrets abandoning them, but he's not bringing them back to life. He's making new ones that will suffer and die.
Yeah, plus they'll have other issues. Anyway, we end this issue with Dr. Elias and the Flash talking. Barry is surprisingly cordial to the Doctor, despite, he helped Mob Rule and almost blew up the city just for EMP blast, a reverse EMP blast. Elias explains that the Flash didn't disperse the blast, but then sent it back in time, hence why the city originally lost power. So, would the blast have really done anything if that's how it had exploded? The power's already out. So was it going to go make the power go out even more in the past?
It probably would have just broken the space-time continuum because time loop.
Okay, whatever. So we get to end the issue with this. Are you saying that my powers are tearing at the very fabric of space and time? Every time you run, you risk bringing us closer to oblivion. I'm sorry to say this, Flash, but we've got to destroy the Speed Force.
Final thoughts time. Well, mine are, that was a disappointing end to a pretty good story. What did you think, Scott? Or Sith Scott?
That was just dumb. The whole we have to destroy the Speed Force because reasons of you could be tearing the space and time continuum of whatever.
You know, they really should have had that conversation in the Flash TV show. You're the guy who watches that. Have they had the conversation of we should destroy the Speed Force to stop all the time travel?
Depends if you can talk about Barry going into the Speed Force and never coming out as a stabilizing feature. Because it wasn't the fact that you could destroy the Speed Force, it was the sense of the Speed Force was always a thing that was there. And that Barry just happened to have a science experiment luckily help him tap into the Speed Force. So that apparently it's just a natural space of time and continuum of something. So it's not something that can be destroyed or created because it just is.
So I take it you like that better than the Speed Force is something that can be destroyed, as implied by this finale.
I mean, does that mean Barry somehow created the Speed Force with his chemical reaction that gave him the Flash powers? In this kind of continuum? But at the same time, when you think of the New 52, the whole premise of this was because of the Speed Force. There are so many things that were going on during the Flashpoint series.
Yep. And so I guess if we destroy the Speed Force, Barry won't be able to run fast or time travel, which, I mean, is probably a net positive considering all the time travel shenanigans he's gone up to.
That is a fair point. If anything, at least Barry can't mess things up more, at least in the time frame. He can still mess up the present.
What's he gonna do? Trip on a bug and accidentally cause a tornado in South Korea?
I mean, if he still has Speed Force powers, then yeah, you could do that.
Okay, overall, I did really enjoy this story, but that ending was disappointing, not just because of the Speed Force thing, but also because of Manuel, and it just not really coming in a satisfying way. Like, yes, I know it's a continuing story, and we gotta have a hook for the next issue, but that is not a particularly interesting hook to me, because I would have rather had things be growing than tearing down, especially when, once again, this was meant to be the fresh start, and yet we're already destroying the thing that we just barely established.
Plus, Manuel's actually kind of a cool character. He had a humongous amount of CIA training. He has a bunch of regenerative powers that allows him to heal from a lot of different wound types, even if it means getting his hands or a part of his body cut off. So, why are we making him a villain when he could just be like a superhero friend?
Or the anti-hero friend that Barry has a complicated relationship. Oh my gosh, I just made it sound like Manuel would be Barry's Catwoman. Except with less stealing.
That could work better than them just being a flat-out villain. If he was just working on making a way to find a cure for his DNA.
Or if he was trying to kill all the bad guys in the world, because we saw him specifically go to kill people, not necessarily because of the government, which wouldn't necessarily mean it was good, or necessarily because it was a thing that needed to happen, but because he was angry at them for killing his daddy. So, like, if he went on, like, a Red Hood kind of spree, that would be a decent extension, too. And that would be more interesting for Barry to deal with than just, oh, Manuel's a villain now.
I think that's my biggest nitpick with this ending, is there's so much potential they could have got from the first 4 issues, and we kind of end with the least amount of potential given from what we could have had. And it's more of just a letdown than anything actually being really bad. It's just there's so much more this could be. Manuel has so much potential to be a good character they could write on and continue to build off of. But now he's just flat out evil. Just for the sake of the Flash made this reverse EMP go back in time.
And I don't get why he's blaming the Flash for it either. Like, we saw the thing explode. What was the Flash going to do? Let it roast you? I know you got regenerative powers, but I don't think that would have felt good. Barry would know. He got roasted by that freaking lightning bolt and all those chemicals.
Which one would be worse?
Ooh. I don't want to know.
Do that on the comments below.
I think everything else is worth it to read it, even if the ending isn't the most satisfying or the one that builds on the most potential. Also, I love rereading this and realizing all the accidental subtext between Barry and Manuel. Like, Manuel is constantly going on about how Barry's the most important person to him, with all this romantic lighting with the blues, the purples, and the pinks. And him saying, Barry knows what he means to me, or Marlborough knows what Barry means to me, with all this lighting, and it's just like, heh. They did not realize the accidental ship they were setting up. And that also reminds me of a nitpick. Fandom, why is this not a ship? Also, why is Manuel the better ship than Patty? You're trying to make the love triangle. And the person who is not involved in this love triangle is a better romantic rival than one of the characters involved in said love triangle.
I almost feel like just writing another thing about Patty, just because this entire New 52 series was indirectly caused by Patty Spivot and her rescuing Bart Allen to go back in the past to help Barry Allen reverse the time stream.
I wonder how many fans you just lost with that description.
Just read Flashpoint.
Sure, I'm not sure it's worth it, but I'll trust Scott. Guys, give us some feedback in the comments below. It'll help the channel grow and help us improve. So, my geeks, peeps, and freaks, stay safe, stay happy, hit that share button, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and ring that bell. And maybe watch out one of our other videos. We also did another comic video not too long ago on Batman Death Mask, so if you like this one, maybe check that one out. Oh, and I'll probably leave a link in the description where you can pick up this comic. You got anything to say to our peeps, geeks, and freaks?
I'm sorry you're just referred to as geeks, freaks, and beaks.
I said peeps, not beaks.
Peeps.